back. It's almost the beginning of week 7, but you are watching the Unintangibles Fantasy Football Show. I am your host tonight, Jeff Shuela. Mo is ill again. He's away. But regardless, we are moving forward, and we have our guest tonight, Mr. Bruno Lee. Welcome to the show, Bruno.
Hey, what's up, Jeff? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. I've been thinking about having you for a few weeks now. So Bruno, fantastic comedian, great guy. It's his second year in our fantasy league, and he inherited a situation last year and had just terrible luck. OBJ injured immediately, pretty much, and with it, his season kind of went to the toilet. But I think you've rebounded nicely, man. How do you feel about the beginning of your fantasy season?
Well, I feel better than the Oakland Raiders, that's for sure.
Have you watched them play football this year?
I watched, I think, the game. I think their opener. I watched their opener, and their first drive was like very convincing, and then it went like down the drain after that. They just got rid of Mac, man. They got rid of their. They have no pass rush, and their offense, I think, is out of rhythm, out of sync. Like I'm not an ESPN analyst by far, but I think like just from the eyeball test, man, sounds like they got some rebuilding to do, or you know what I mean?
Definitely some shady moves. I mean, they spent a 3rd-round pick on Martavis Bryant, who hasn't panned out.
Is he still on that team?
I think so. I don't think he was ever suspended. I think he still plays. Yeah.
But he cost, what a waste of talent, Martavis Bryant. Unfortunately, he cost himself a year, if not a year and a half, because of the weed there, the illicit substance. He should have played in Canada. He'd have been fine.
I was gonna say, moved to yeah, exactly. And we both live in Montreal, and weed was actually made legal in our country today. So
yeah, he'd have been fine out here with the Alouettes. I don't know what their policy is, but
Martavis is welcome. Josh Gordon is welcome, and half of the NFL is welcome to come here if they want.
Yeah.
I wonder if that'll attract players to the CFL. Probably not, but maybe a few.
No, there's not enough.
Well, I'm just looking at your fantasy team. I know you do have a 2-3-1 record, but your team is stacked, man. I don't know how you're actually not better. So your roster, I'm looking here. You have Drew Brees, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. You have Brandon Cooks. You have OBJ. I have to congratulate you, and I'm going to eat a little bit of crow here because I gave you some crap for drafting or for keeping Randall Cobb over Derrick Henry, and that move has worked out beautifully. I mean, Cobb hasn't exactly been amazing, but he's been better than Henry, right?
Yeah. The thing is, and you're right, I should have a better record for sure because, I can't remember in my entire existence, just my entire experience of watching football, a quarterback that is playing as bad as Eli Manning is right now.
Yeah, so
very, very embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, I will preface it and say Bruno's a huge Giants fan, legit Giants fan, and he wears his heart on his sleeve because I saw you started Eli last week because
I had to. Breeze had a bye week.
But you didn't have to. You didn't have to start Eli. You could have started a few other options for sure. I don't know who's out there, but was that because a fantasy decision, or that was just like a heart on your sleeve Giants fan decision?
Well, I think part of it too was my emotions towards the Giants, but I know Eli's done. I knew it last year, and people were blaming the O-line and the coaching, but really, I think Eli should have retired 4 years ago. Really, that TB12 thing. There's only a handful of guys that are ever going to play at a high level after the age of 36, right? But I didn't know that. Do you have to start a quarterback on our fantasy?
Yeah. You have to start one quarterback.
Yeah, so I had Eli Manning and Drew Brees, and Drew Brees was on a bye, and I had to start Eli. But that was the week after Eli had 2 touchdown passes against the Panthers, right?
Yeah.
But he also threw 2 picks.
So were you watching that game? Have you been able to get some Eli exposure this year in your own eyeballs?
Every single Giants game.
Yeah.
Every single Giants game, and OBJ. Sorry, but Odell.
Worries.
He's I can understand his frustration because no quarterback, no gold, man. This guy is like, I don't know where he's throwing the ball. He's dinking and dunking to Saquon. The only thing positive out of this situation is how much value Saquon Barkley has.
Yeah. So
Realizing this guy is a legit pick. Like he's really, objectively speaking, though, I wouldn't have drafted him. I think I'd have went with for Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield, right?
interesting. Okay, with Baker being off the board, would you have done Sam Darnold over Saquon? I guess you would. Eh? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because you can always find a great running back in the second or third round, but great quarterbacks, you're not, Brady, and that happens once every 50 years, right? Usually the great quarterbacks are in the first or second round at least. You know what I mean?
Okay, so okay, just a fantasy aside, you're a Giants fan. Are you? I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that they're writing off the season, but are you worried that they just won't have a quarterback? I mean, they'll probably finish and get a top five pick next year. Uh,
Probably. That's if they could manage their emotions better than I did. Because I picked Eli Manning, right? I picked when we drafted for
yeah.
our fantasy league. I picked Eli Manning, knowing in the back of my mind, he's probably cooked. Drafting him because I could remember the emotions I went through the last Super Bowl they won in 2012 against the Patriots, and Eli Manning is is really part of my joyful experience as a Giants fan, right? But the
Yeah,
last
every Giants fan
yeah.
has to love Eli, has a soft spot for him for sure. Which is
Now we have to move on. We have to move on because he's not the same quarterback than 5 or 6 years ago. And you know what, Jeff? He wasn't even elite to begin with. He was just
let's be honest.
he was pretty good for a long time. The most clutch quarterback in the playoffs that you can ever find, right? But he was never Aaron Rodgers. He was never Tom Brady. He's never Drew Brees. He's not even Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, it took some pretty miraculous throws. I mean, David Tyree caught one
Yeah,
off of
bro.
his.
Yeah, I know, but like, how long do we have to hold on to that? We got to move on, man. We're living in
Hey
the
man,
past.
I'm a Lions fan, man. I'll take a helmet catch if I can get one.
Yeah.
But well, let's just quickly talk about Saquon. You did have the first pick overall. I mean, were you considering anybody else, or you knew?
No,
Yeah, okay.
no. I was just playing. I was just messing around because I had the first pick, right,
Yeah.
and I waited till the last second to
I
pick
know, dude. I
one.
was like, is Bruno there? Like, I hope like
I just wanted to add some Netflix drama to the
that's
whole
hilarious.
experience, but I knew I was going to pick Saquon. And look, like he's getting me points.
Yeah.
Uh, I just hope the Giants aren't wasting his prime years because running backs, their prime is like 5 minutes, right?
Right now. So, what? Give me your eyeball test on Saquon. Give me your early opinion on Saquon. Just watching.
Man, he is a generational talent.
Yeah,
He
special.
is he is the best, one of the best running backs I have ever seen in my experience watching football. Like just to look at it, look at his legs. It's like my trunk. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He has speed, he has size, he has power, he has vision, he has agility.
Yeah.
He's durable. Yeah, I'd put him over Todd Gurley right now, and is he
Yeah. Already after
I
six
really
games.
would.
I,
After
I
six,
don't think you're alone, man. I think a lot of people have Saquon as a top three running back in the game right now after 6 games. I mean, yeah, that guy is special, and he's going to have a great career, no doubt.
I
And
just hope they don't waste his prime years because like his prime is like what? If he's lucky, it's 4 or 5 years. I hope they don't waste those years.
young, he's 22. So look, I mean, worst case scenario, he's very young. If the Giants do get a quarterback in the draft next year, I can, Saquon's going to be good for at least another 5, 6, 7 years, man. You'll get good football out of Saquon Barkley for sure. Did you get offers for Saquon Barkley in the offseason for that one overall pick?
I think I had one sneaky Pete there trying to trade. Can't remember his name, and he always tries something before the season starts, and I don't blame him.
To Corey?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't remember what the deal was, but like uh, I'm like, wait, I have a first overall pick, number one overall, and I need it. It's like I'm not going to trade it for number 4 or number 5. Why? I'm
Yeah,
picking
and
for
you're a
it. I
Giants
know what
fan.
I need.
Yeah,
It's,
that's awesome.
I just want to make sure I get it. You know.
So just a couple more questions about your fantasy team here. So I see you have Deshaun Jackson. Did you draft him or did you pick him up in the season?
No, I drafted him.
And have you? Did you ever use him?
I don't. Good question. I think I might have used them once, but the reason is I didn't, because Fitzpatrick. I didn't trust Fitzpatrick, right? Because he was supposed to play
No
the
one
first
did. I
game.
mean, it was nice what he had for a while, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because
So the first 2 games, I sat Deshaun Jackson because I didn't trust the play of Fitzpatrick because he's pretty inconsistent, right? But
yeah,
it turns out he was balling, right, the first 3 games. And then the third game, I put Deshaun on, but he didn't perform as well as the first 2 games, I believe.
yeah. Okay, so week 3, I'm looking. Yeah, he had 3 for 37, basically. Yeah. So the first 2 weeks, he had 146 yards and 2 touchdowns,
Yeah.
129 yards and a touchdown. You bench him. You start him in week 3, and then of course you're disappointed, and then you bench him, and then he goes off in week 4 for 5 for 120 for 112.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. But one thing I've learned, though, the great lesson is draft running backs.
Yeah.
Draft running backs first, and then you worry about the quarterbacks later.
So that's a good. That's definitely good. Do you play in more than one league, Bruno?
No, just our league.
And so is this your second year playing fantasy?
This is my second year, and so
Right.
far the improvement has been great because now I know when to sit players. I know
Right.
what to draft first.
Do you listen to any podcasts or do you do any sort of?
I do. I listen to like you mean like sports podcasts,
Yeah.
like
Who do you listen to any fantasy podcasts? Is there anyone in particular that you like?
no, I listen to like Undisputed and First Take, and they talk about games and stuff like that and their predictions. Uh,
So they've been talking a lot of Giants. I know they've been talking a lot
talking
of
a lot
Giants.
of Giants. They're talking a lot of what's the other headline? Cowboys. I don't know why they talk about the Cowboys a lot. They're irrelevant.
They are.
They like 'cause they every year because they have the most primetime games, right? The Cowboys.
Yeah, they
And
have a lot. They do have a lot of primetime games. So do the Giants, though. I think the Giants are playing on Monday night this week. And but you're right. The Giants, the Cowboys do play on primetime quite a bit. I'm sure Jerry Jones has something to do with that.
yeah, man, he's a great businessman. And speaking of like fantasy football, I really suggest for people to just check out like if you're like a huge football fan, um, All or Nothing. This
Okay.
reality TV show named All or Nothing. It really gives you an insight on what it's like to be a pro player or a college football player, and it's amazing.
Can you watch that on YouTube, or where do you get that?
Oh, Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Okay.
Yeah, and it's really it's not your type of like you're really like it's as if you're inside the locker room, you're inside these
Nice.
players' lives, and they talk about their fears, they talk about their expectations, their
Very cool.
doubts.
Very
So
cool.
I really recommend the show.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. And now that you're mentioning it, I would like to. I'd like to check it out. Thank you for the recommendation.
No problem.
So you don't listen to any fantasy podcasts? You don't listen to
No,
any?
I should, but there's the fantasy. We get notifications.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So you watch
Yeah.
the videos.
Sometimes I read that too, but no, I don't. I don't really listen to.
So
That would
you,
probably give me an edge now, would it?
yeah, look. I listen to podcasts. I listen to the Christopher Harris football podcast. I listen to quite a few different podcasts, and I'd be happy to share what I.
Sure, man, because I'm still learning.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, look, how is playing fantasy? Because you've been a football fan longer than you've been a fantasy player. How has fantasy changed the way you look at the game now? Has it impacted the way you watch on Sundays?
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
it really taught me how to separate my emotions from the business side of it.
Okay.
You're like a little general manager.
Yeah,
Just
exactly. Look,
really have to
I'm a
watch.
Detroit Lions fan, but I mean, I would love to have some of those Lions on my team, but I get, I mean, because look, you do have Eli on your roster, so I feel like you have some heart on your sleeve for
That
sure.
was a mistake. And honestly, for anybody listening, that do not draft with your heart.
Well, your
Draft.
waivers are tonight, so you could always make that change. I see you have Eli as your current starting quarterback. Is that a strategy because of the Falcons, or are you putting Breeze back in against the
I'm
Ravens?
gonna put Breeze back in.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're Wednesday today, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
waivers are
I'm putting Breeze back
overnight.
in for sure.
And the reason we had you on is because you're playing Mo this week, my
Mhm.
co-host.
Hey Mo, hope you feel better, man.
I want you to beat Mo, man. I know we're in the same division, but I'd like you to. I believe that you suffered enough last year, and I'd like you to have a turnaround this year. So.
Listen, man, I'm not the same manager I was last year.
So tell me the fun factor that you have like with fantasy. I know are you having fun in the league? Like how has fantasy impacted your life at all?
Well, you know, I wouldn't say it impacted my life, but my Sunday nights and my Thursday nights are a lot more exciting for
Yeah,
sure. Because, I have the app and just watching the points rack up as you're watching the games. It's amazing, man.
yeah,
Knowing you made the right decisions, putting the players in at a certain time, watching matchups, you know, reading the scouting reports and the injury reports, it really, they give me hope that maybe if I fall into $10 billion, I can buy the Giants, maybe.
yeah, man, for sure. You see, I was a fantasy owner for many years.
But it's stressful too, man. It's a little bit stressful, It's you're like I'm always on my phone when the game's on. I'm like, okay, is this am I going ahead? Am I gonna lose? I'm like,
Decisions to make, lineups to set.
yeah, exactly.
So, being a football fan for many years, how come you never ventured into fantasy? I'm sure you saw it
I
was
thought it was for nerds, man. People who don't talk to their wives. You know what I mean? Like, and then people, persistence is always key. People kept talking about it around me. You kept talking about it, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go. Let's give it a shot. And you're right. I should have gotten into it like years ago. I would have been a better manager now.
That's all right, but drafting running backs and receivers definitely have a premium over quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
And your friend is his name pronounced Mace or Mice?
Mace, yeah.
Yeah, so Mace is in our league, and he's a friend of Bruno's. So Mace, he's been playing longer or not at all?
I believe he was in another league before I was, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like he's a shark man. I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he watches a lot of football. He's pretty smart. Yeah, absolutely.
We will definitely have him on at some point this
Yeah,
season.
you should, man. He's got opinions and stuff, and sometimes we disagree, but he's a really smart guy. He's a great football fan. Loves the Cowboys. That's why I love to hate him when he watches
Nice.
the Cowboys and stuff. But yeah,
How does Bruno watch his football? Do you hang out at home alone on a
I like
Sunday?
to watch it at home because otherwise I go crazy with the app at a bar. I'm
Yeah,
watching.
yeah, yeah. So you have the Zone app, the DAZN,
No, I have just the fantasy app.
the fantasy app. Okay,
Yeah,
because there's
yeah.
a football app you could watch all the games for $20 a month.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I could send you the link if you want. It's legitimately $20, and you get every game.
it has nothing to do with like NFL Sunday Ticket or
It,
whatnot. Or
it is the Sunday ticket for Canada. It's
oh,
it's an app you get on your phone. You can watch it on your laptop and on your iPad, and you can watch the games for $20 a month. It has the Red Zone network. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Red Zone network. Have you heard of that?
you can only watch the touchdown scored. Is that it?
Yeah. So basically, it's like crack for fantasy players. So you basically any team that's inside the 20, they will go to that game, and it's no commercials. So it's basically 7 hours of commercial-free football, of
Oh, nice. You
constant.
have that too?
I watch it, and I'm like, I feel like a gambling degenerate, basically. But maybe I'll have you over for a Sunday, man, if you want to come over. But
Yeah, we should definitely start thinking about that. Like the key games, definitely playoffs. We should do that, man.
do you watch with your girlfriend or any friends?
He
Or
hates football.
sorry,
He hates football.
he hates football.
Loves me and respect the fact that I watch football. And sometimes it's compromises. Sundays I try not to kill her with football all day. So
Yeah.
I just pick one game that I can watch.
Oh, you're a good man. You're a good man. My
Yeah.
girl has slowly gotten into football, but I end up watching anywhere between 2 to 7 hours a day on Sundays because
Oh man,
it's like
you
I need
if
rest,
you had a
man.
girlfriend, she'd be dead by now, man. You can't seriously, man, because this is a lot of football. The Thursday night, then there's college football, then
Yeah.
there's the Sunday, Monday night, bro. You
It's a
can't.
lot, but she's into it, man. She has teams that she likes, and I'm just grateful that she's into it. Even though there's a ton of commercials and there's a lot of whistles, there's a lot of. Is football your number one sport?
Man, I love the game. I'm telling you, you're Jeff. You're gonna love All or Nothing. You really,
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I will watch it and I'll report back to you. I'll let you know how I feel about.
you're gonna
So,
when you watch season 3, you're gonna find out why they got rid of Des Bryant.
oh no way!
That's it's an amazing show, man. I can't believe they allowed this to air on Amazon Prime because it really shows you how whatever they say to the media is like, filtered, it's not it's calculated, right? Somebody else tells them to say that. But
Well, I'd be remiss. I know we only have a few minutes left. I'd be remiss to ask you what your real thoughts are on. Since you mentioned Dez, we're talking about diva receivers. You're a Giants fan. What do you think about OBJ right now? What's going on?
listen, I think I understand OBJ's reactions. He's a passionate player. He wants to do well, but OBJ needs to understand that the NFL is not for long. And people are only going to tolerate your antics as long as your productivity is there. And if you want to play football as long as you can, as long as possible, at some point you need to match the attitude that is more conducive into having uh, into having you around the locker room, on a long term.
Does he piss you off?
He does a bit because
Yeah.
it's a little immature.
Yeah.
Mind you, it doesn't neglect the fact that Eli Manning is really playing horrendous right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but
Okay. So
like,
prediction: will the Giants finish the season with Eli as the starting quarterback?
yeah, and I think it's going to be humiliating, and I wish they did not. I wish they did, no, seriously. You see, McAdoo benched him last year, and everybody, was out to hang him, right?
But
But it turns out
he knew that he was cooked.
he knew that he was cooked. So now everybody's turning around and say, "Hey, McAdoo, you were right." True, and it's not like he did that on a whim. He went up to management, asked for permission, and they decided to bench him. And then when they saw the uproar from the public, then they put him back in. But he was right.
Scapegoat for sure.
Yeah,
So okay, so you say Eli finishes with okay. I mean, look,
but it's going to be one of
how many
those
wins are the Giants going
embarrassing
to finish
moments.
with this year? They have one win right now. Are they going to get over or under 5 wins? Their schedule's better. I will say,
5 wins,
schedule
tough.
was very tough. They had a very tough start to the season. Their schedule, it's getting a lot better now.
I don't think they're going to get more than 5 wins.
Okay, so 4 wins.
Yeah,
That's a top 5 pick.
if they keep Eli Manning in there. I hope you think they can bring Kaepernick in to finish out the season.
No, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think Kaepernick's going to play. I like the storyline. I just don't see an owner. I feel like he was. I think there's a conspiracy there. My opinion. I think he's been blackballed from the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have strong opinions about it. I just have instincts about it, and I think that he's been blackballed from the NFL. But also, let's not forget he wasn't exactly ripping it up before he left. So
That's true. That's true.
but he has legs, so I think he'd be a better threat on with his legs and with his arm, and I think he'd be a good fit with the weapons of the Giants. So I would definitely bring him in for a workout.
Mm-hmm. But you don't think it's going to happen? Do you think Eli Manning finishes the season as a starter, or
I don't think so. I
you
think
think
they'll trade for some backup quarterback or someone who's serviceable, because I feel bad for Eli because he does have some sort of legacy, and I just can't see him surviving the next 10 weeks of the season. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, his O-line is terrible too. So
he's terrible? He can't buy time to save his life.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad story, to be honest.
No, it's think you definitely don't want to go out that way. You want to go out on top. people say it all the time in movies, but you really do, you know, because it's for him going out like that, getting pushed out the door. It's not going to be an easy feeling to endorse, you know.
Well, on the bright side, he does have an easier schedule. He had some very tough opponents for the first 6 weeks. It does loosen up, so we'll see if they can come together a little bit. They have a bye in week 9. Hopefully, they try and make some adjustments. But before we end this interview tonight, any final thoughts or predictions for the season? Any takes?
Is there anybody undefeated on our fantasy?
No, Mo got eliminated. Well, he lost. He was undefeated and he lost last week. So you're playing a team with Todd Gurley and Alvin.
Fantasy football, you always have a chance. At least the first 6 weeks, you have
Yes.
a chance, and that's great. It brings us together. It makes it more exciting, and I really appreciated you guys letting me in. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's a good league. We've been going for 5 years. I see that your core players are not on bye this week. You have Randall Cobb on bye and Jared Cook, who's had a great start, by the way. But your main players are playing this week. They have some decent matchups. So I wish you luck this week, man. I hope you can go 3-3-1 and
Thank
score.
you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, brother.
Take care. Huh?
Bye.
Bye.